Hello, YouTubeville, and hello, Facebook world. We are now live.
You didn't tell we were going live, mate.
Mate, that was a good impression. You did. That was like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone.
I'm practicing my acting skills.
A hairy Macaulay Culkin.
That's it.
That's your moniker from now on. So, guys, welcome to the show, Crypto Like a Pro, with me, Gaven, the host, and our professional resident trader, Mr. Andy Demi. I feel like we're in the scene from 300. You know that Spartan movie? All summer, Bitcoin's been under attack. The crypto market's been under attack from this massive, massive army. And now we're at the precipice, the 300, the chosen few that have been taking the battle to the world, to the Persian army, or whatever it is. My history is pretty rubbish, but you get where I'm coming from. Bitcoin, is it about to break its all-time high? Is it about to do one of the things that you love and you wax lyrical every week? Is it about to break resistance, come back down, act as support, and then springboard off? So what we'd love to hear, because we're going to deep dive into that, but that's going to come. First of all, what we want to hear from you, Mr. Demi, is how has the last 7 days of the crypto world been for you from the point of view of a professional trader? And what are you anticipating over the next 7 days for the crypto market in general?
Hi, everybody. By
the way, hi. I'm just pumped to get on with the show. Hi.
Hi. It's been quite an interesting development. Kind of seeing Bitcoin move and maybe the altcoins kind of lagging, which is interesting. And that's kind of saying a lot about one of the topics we're going to be speaking about later, which is like institutional money. Now, what's quite interesting at the moment that I'm seeing is that it's not necessarily new money that's driven Bitcoin up. The kind of on-chain analysis that I've been kind of looking at is showing me that it's the same newer investors that are buying more, which is quite interesting. So it's not a case of there's new people, big whales coming in. It's the same guys buying more. So, and specifically, what's quite interesting about those stats is that looking at it, it's kind of like the $40,000 point is where they started buying. So it's like, if you think of it from their point of view, if you're a big institution, you bought a 40K, the time you're going to start buying more is if it drops below 40K, right? So that there'll probably be accumulation if that ever happens. Right now, we're at a critical point, and we're gonna go look at the charts a little bit later of Bitcoin, because it's a very important point. And there's a lot going on, and there's going to be different types of people. So you might be somebody who's already invested in Bitcoin and has held through all of the waves, and you're pretty happy with yourself. Or you might be someone who wishes they'd bought when the market was at 30K, a little while ago, and now you're looking at the market at 62K, and you're thinking, what should I do? Should I buy now? Should I wait? Is it a good idea? How's this ETF going to make a difference? Is Bitcoin going to break its all-time highs? And these are the things that we're going to talk about today. But there's opportunities everywhere. And what you've asked me to do today, Gavin, is to maybe also look at alternatives to Bitcoin. So I'm going to do that. I'll break down one of the cryptos that I'm interested in, that I'm invested in, that I think has a lot of potential. So even if you've missed the Bitcoin train, you don't necessarily have to be in Bitcoin to benefit from Bitcoin rising. I want you to really get that. You can, of course, invest in Bitcoin, but I'm saying there's probably opportunities outside of Bitcoin right now, undervalued projects. In fact, I know there are, that have got potential for 10x, 50x, 100x returns. And that's kind of, maybe where your focus should also go, to look for value where others maybe are just kind of fixated on the same thing that everybody else is speaking about.
I like that, mate. I like that a lot. And as you were talking about that Bitcoin being 28K, obviously we've done this show every week for months now, like literally since, feels like another lifetime ago. But I remember distinctly those times when we were talking about Bitcoin being under 30. Is it going to go lower? It just, has that time gone fast for you or slow? Because it just seems like another time. It just seems like another world. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, in Bitcoin terms, a day is a month. That's almost like that. It really is. Like, if you compare it to how stocks move, it's crazy. Like, we could speak in a week and Bitcoin could be at 100K. Right? It's that wouldn't shock me. So it's just that's the volatility that we have right now. So, but yeah, I want to kind of give you a proper breakdown, give you my thoughts, and then obviously give you some alternative as well of where you could potentially invest, where I think there's potential for a bigger gain. Don't know what that
awesome.
noise.
I live by the beach, but there's like a dual carriageway. So the beach is one way, and then there's a dual carriageway. It's like a drag racing track sometimes, with all their fancy cars. And he's just coming back around again.
Nice.
We'll just act like it's not happening and we're not live. We're just having a little chat, two little buddies talking about cryptos. Exactly. So look, that's really exciting, the breakdown, and thank you for giving us that mindset. It's really valuable just to get inside your mind as a professional trader and see what you're thinking and just kind of pick things up from osmosis. But let's get into Bitcoin news today. And obviously the big news that everybody's talking about, and something that you posted in our private Facebook group, is Bitcoin ETFs. What is your take on the ETF situation? And is there anything we should be worried, concerned, or excited about?
Yeah, this is a really good topic. And that's why I mean, obviously, one, we know that people have been asking about it. So I know it's of interest, but it's really interesting, the timing of it as well. And I'll explain why. So for those that don't know what an ETF, it's an electronic traded fund. What's different about this? Well, basically it's working as a in a regulated way. So institutions can freely invest in it in theory. But one thing that's really important to understand is that it's a synthetic asset, which basically means it just mirrors what Bitcoin does. So you buy an ETF of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes up 10%, your ETF goes up 10%, give or take some fees, right? So it's a synthetic. Now, what's interesting about this is that we've been speaking about an ETF for a while. Why is an ETF a good thing? Well, it's a good thing because it's basically legitimizing Bitcoin, like in the eyes of many. Like, we know that there's a lot of people that are now seeing Bitcoin for what it is, but there's a lot of people, a lot of doubters. And when something gets listed on a real exchange, that's when it really builds the trust with the public. So that's really important for cryptos, because in my opinion, that sets the stage for other cryptocurrencies. Like the second biggest, like Ethereum, will probably be next. You know, that could easily happen, and it could be this could be a theme, let's say. But what does it mean for Bitcoin? Well, an ETF was spoken about back even in 2017. Why? Because it's a way for institutions to be able to invest. But because it didn't happen, you know, things take, legislation is really hard to move. It takes a long time to get things in order for them to be able to list, and it never happened. And now the timing of it is a bit strange, because institutions are investing in actual Bitcoin. Like, they're buying Bitcoin itself, which actually has helped the market in many ways, because the delay in the ETF, in my opinion, has actually helped crypto adoption more than the ETF is going to help crypto adoption, because they've been forced. Institutions didn't want to miss the boat. So they've been forced to go and invest in Bitcoin itself. And that's why institutions have invested, right? So you can see, like, we're seeing announcements all the time of all the big firms investing, like BlackRock and Michael Saylor's company, MicroStrategy's investing continuously in Bitcoin, and many others. So they've bought physical Bitcoin. So this ETF actually it's just more about the news and legitimizing cryptos than anything else, because we're actually better off if you're a Bitcoin holder and bullish Bitcoin. You're actually better off if the institutions buy Bitcoin than buy the ETF, because buying the ETF does not push the price up. I need to stress that. It's like, if for those that are familiar with financial terms, it's like spread betting. What you're essentially doing is you bet that the price is going to go up of Bitcoin, for example. And if the price of Bitcoin goes up, you make money. But you're not actually helping the price of Bitcoin go up, because you're not buying Bitcoin, you're buying an ETF. So you're buying something synthetic. So you will profit from from the demand coming into Bitcoin. So although, yes, it is important, it's something that maybe if it happened in 2017, I think it would have propelled the market much higher. I think right now it's in the news. It's already had some effect, because it naturally, people were like, oh, wow, we've got the ETF, let's buy it. And it's had a little push. Do I think that's the reason why it breaks the all-time high? No, I don't. I don't think that's the reason why the all-time high will break. I think at some point we will break this high and we will go to the levels that we've spoken about before. Whether that's now or later, we'll discuss. But that's the point, is that the ETF is really more about how people perceive. Like your average Joe, how do they perceive Bitcoin? Well, you can't say it's a scam anymore, can you? If it's listed on a recognized, US exchange. And that is very big, because if Bitcoin's not a scam, then maybe some of these other cryptocurrencies are not scams in those eyes. And suddenly the doors open, the floodgates open, and the average person starts to think about buying. And I'll tell you something interesting, Gavin. In the last 2-3 weeks, I've had about 4 or 5 people reach out to me that want to know how can they invest in cryptos. Like, just people that I know, so friends of friends who have been doubters, who have been thinking, I don't believe in this, and suddenly they're pinging me a message saying, how do I do this? What do I do? How do I buy this? How do I get involved? And that is, even in itself, is a sign of what's actually happening underneath.
First of all, I hope you send them to the Crypto and FX Traders Club on Facebook. That exactly. Should be your first thing.
I've sent them to the order page for our courses. Direct. Don't watch the presentation. Just go to the order page.
I mean, there could be definitely worse things to do than that if they want to get a grounding in it, for sure. But it is a good sign. Obviously, I told the story last week of my friend jumping into crypto without even doing any research, and just because he had FOMO of not wanting to miss out. And it's really interesting. I'm sure everybody here watching this now, either live or on the replay, has got a story of at least 1 or 2 people they know that are probably doing the exact same thing. So it's interesting, because although the ETF situation won't directly increase the price, by proxy, the knock-on effect, because it's now listed officially, that is probably going to be enough to open the door to the market. And then I would imagine, like, what percentage of people would want to buy the ETF versus actually physically hold the Bitcoin? Do you see what I mean? Like, that, it's going to be interesting how that pans out, and what percentage of people from now until the end of the year choose the ETF route versus the actual physical holding of Bitcoin.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we can't say for sure. It is an interesting dynamic. I mean, you'd need to speak to the CEOs of these companies, how they kind of look at both. But my view is, for those that have already dipped in the market and bought Bitcoin, they'd probably buy more Bitcoin. Maybe those that have been on the sidelines and have been a bit more risk averse will then buy the ETF. So that's kind of how I'd see it panning out. Obviously, we don't know for sure, but the thing that you kind of implied with is that what the ETF essentially has done is it's made the sentiment bullish, I think. And sentiment is like an invisible driver of the market, because if the whole world feels good about Bitcoin, then the likelihood is that there's more people going to buy it just by that alone. So more that it brings it to the news, doesn't it? For good reason. And it's a reassurance. It's like a stamp to say, guys, this is fine. Your money's safe. You can buy it. It's kind of like that. So it's not for people that are in this group, because they're already believers, right? They're already buying and investing in cryptos. But for people that haven't done that, it can make a difference. It can definitely make a difference. And there's a lot of risk averse people that want to invest their money, that want to make more than the standard 0.1% a year that banks offer. So I think it's great.
And you know what will be interesting is that I think a lot of the stocks money comes over through the ETFs.
A lot of the stocks?
Yeah, money in stocks and bonds and things like that, right? I think that's the gateway into cryptos.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. So yeah, money could flow from those assets into ETFs now, into the Bitcoin ETF now that it's available, at least a small allocation. But again, just to kind of really clarify, it's not necessarily going to have a direct impact on the price. So even if there's new demand for the ETF, it's not going to necessarily help push Bitcoin up.
Yeah, understood, Mr. Demi. So look, that's the major Bitcoin news for today. That's that out of the way. Now let's jump into a mystery altcoin that Mr. Demi has in his box of tricks. He has many of them. He's agreed to let us have a look at one of these magical, mythical creatures, because the man is coming around. Whether you like it or not, Mr. Demi, you are now a Shiba Inu believer. You even did a video last week about Doge's girlfriend. We've all seen it, mate. There's no point trying to deny it.
It was my twin, mate. It was my twin.
I think what you're trying to do, I understand your mind. This is my theory on what you're trying to do. These crappy meme coins that you're saying with no actual physical use, they're not going to help the world. You're now just trying to show us other coins that could 3x, 5x, 10x, whatever, that have actually got some practical application and could help the world and make people money, which is a win-win-win in my book. So I think that's the mindset that you've got. And I thank you for you don't have to do this, but thank you for sharing it anyway. So yeah, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. So I'm going to choose a crypto that maybe I've referenced before, that I think is really undervalued still, even though the market has moved up. Let me share my screen and we'll kind of break down. Let me do so. Share screen. So the crypto that I want to share with you guys today is Atom. This is one of my favorite cryptocurrencies to be holding right now. So
why? Tell us why first.
Well, firstly, it's got a massive use case, and also, in my opinion, it's really, really undervalued. I think I kind of alluded to it when we were looking at Shiba Inu last week, and it's got everything. It's got a great team, no hype, great coders, great project, and it fits in. It's basically where is it now? It's number 26 in the market cap standing. So it's a lower risk cryptocurrency, but you know, like if you kind of look at the potential for this from a technical point of view and from a use case point of view, one of the things that they haven't done, I kind of know information about the owners, and one of the things that I know that they're against is they're against marketing in a way. Like they don't hype their project up. They're very, very much about getting into cryptos for the right reasons, to make a difference, to improve lives. And you know, and it's a true story. They never reached out to any of the exchanges to get their coin listed. The exchanges came to them, which is unusual. Normally, it's definitely the other way around. They're just focused on the work. They're just focused on delivering the best possible project and product. And this is just the beginning. It's kind of just gone under the radar, in my opinion. Now, I'm fortunate. I was buying this on the dips. So not like I didn't buy it down here, but I've been long since about $18, $19. But I'd still buy more here. I mean, I don't want to make kind of irrational predictions, but I'd be absolutely amazed if we don't hit $100 by the end of the year. That's what I believe is possible for Atom. So I mean, if you kind of look at where we are right now from a technical point of view, this is a weekly chart. So just to keep this analysis simple, the market has basically come back to this old resistance that becomes support. We have pulled back into our Fibonacci here into the 38.2, and so a push up now to the 200 is very, very possible. So for me, I think I love what they do. I think the reason why it's still undervalued, why it's number 26, this should be in the top 10. It's just because of the kind of team that they are. Like you can see other teams like Tron, for example, who are, you know, basically tweeting every day about their project and things that they're not interested in hyping themselves up. They're just doing it the right way, in my opinion, and I love that. And I kind of know offhand. I know the owners and what they're about, and I know that they're very, very serious about what they're doing, and I think the team is everything. You know, it doesn't, if your project is good but with the wrong team, it will never get off the ground. But if you've got the right dedicated team, I think you have every chance of achieving your goals. And this is one project that I'm personally, it's one of my top holdings, let's put it that way. And I think even the push up to like $100 for me will just be the start. I think there's still much more room to grow on Atom.
So I saw in that list the market cap's at 7.5. Is that right?
So the market cap, I don't know offhand, 7.5 billion. Yeah, 7.5 billion.
And what space is it in?
It's in the DeFi space.
Okay, so you're one of your big ones, and then it's still got room to grow then, right?
It's got, yeah, absolutely. I think, like I said, I think especially if Bitcoin breaks its all-time high, I see Atom doing a 3x. So that's a kind of like, so if Bitcoin gets to 100, I think Atom gets to $100. So if Bitcoin gets to 100K, Atom gets to $100. So that's a kind of example that I'm saying, like you've got a solid project, lots of use case, really good team, good sentiment from the community, and underpriced. And you know, there's a potential there for a potential 3x. So let's put it in a different way. If I'm correct, if you make a $10,000 investment and it goes to 100, you make basically 30. Your 10 basically 3x is to 30. If Bitcoin goes to 100, it's going to be less than 10 grand that you make. Now, I'm not saying that it's not a good investment to buy Bitcoin. Of course, I think Bitcoin's going to go much higher. But this is the kind of example that if you are trading with smaller amounts of money, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me to be buying Bitcoin. Like if you've got £1,000 to put in or $1,000 to put in, you know, you're not going to make enough on a move, you know, from 62 to 100K, for example. And you know, we can speak about it another time. There's other projects that are slightly higher risk than Atom that I'm in, that I think represent potential 100x, even more than 100x if they fulfill their potential. But again, you need to learn how to build a portfolio. Like you can't just invest randomly. Like even if you want to invest in Atom, like you have to think of your investments as a portfolio. Like, okay, I will have some high risk, I'll have some low risk, I'll have some medium risk, and you have to allocate your funds correctly, because you want to be in those potential 100. You want to be buying Luna when it was 13 cents. Because even look, think about it, even if you put a few $100s in or a couple of $100s into something like that, you know, that becomes, you know, that's a 6-figure return. And all of a sudden you've got 100K to play with. You know, I said it last time that an investment of 5K into Luna a year before would have turned into 1.5 million. And that's crazy, right? So even if you didn't put 5K and you put a K or $500, you're still looking at really significant money. So I believe in having a varied portfolio, as I've said a few times before, but you've got to do that, in my opinion, rather than just kind of blindly just buying Bitcoin on its own.
Awesome. So we've delivered on our promise. There is a 3x crypto with a great team, great project, good market cap, and really good technicals. So Atom, check it out, guys. Obviously, do your own research. But having said that, this man has got his eye on the ball, as we've seen multiple times over the last 6 to 12 months, especially in the crypto space. So yeah, that's our pick for this week, our crypto trade setup of the week. Thank you very much for sharing that, Mr. Demi.
No worries. No worries.
So look, guys, also, so we're going to get into the Bitcoin price prediction section, which is probably what a lot of you have been waiting for. Just while Andy's getting his screen set up, guys, we're going to post a link. If you want to know how to pull market cap information together, if you want to know how to use fundamentals, if you want to be able to find projects like this and have all of the information to your hands, click on the link below, because we've got some extended training. There's about an hour's worth of free training, and you're going to get access to the whole of Andy's toolbox, everything that he uses in his trades, and for investing, mainly on the trading side. We are working on something for those that just want to focus on investing. It's not quite ready yet, so watch this space for that. But this free extended training, click on the link. If it's not going to get posted shortly, I'll make sure I'll post it in after the show. Go and get your bellies full with that information and fill up your brains with all the crypto goodness that we have to give you for free. So, Mr. Demi, with that being said, let's jump in to the Bitcoin price prediction of the week. So, Mr. Demi, tell us, you haven't been wrong so far. You have got a great track record. What is going to happen in the next 7 hours to 7 days on Bitcoin? Are we going to break the all-time high? Is it going to come back up? Is it going to crash back down to 30 grand? What's going to happen in your professional opinion?
Sure. So the first thing is, like, that I want to kind of point out here is we are below the all-time high. Okay, which is there. But we have, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but we have closed above the previous highest close on the weekly time frame. So if you can see here, this is the highest closing weekly time frame that we've had up to now. So that in itself is quite interesting. That could be regarded as bullish. But one thing that we haven't quite got yet is we haven't really got the volume yet to back it. So you can kind of see here, this week's bar, the volume has been quite low. So what I can do, what I'd normally do in this situation is I'd go and have a look at the daily chart and just kind of break down what the volume has been like on the more significant days. So what I mean by that is the big bullish days and the big bearish days. So we haven't really got big bearish days. That was kind of a nothing bar. So when we say big bearish, we're talking about bars like this. So big, bigger than average and red, and then bigger than average and green. And so recently there's no red there. So you can see over here when we were quite bearish, you can see that we had a big aggressive bar down with a big increase in volume. And that was bearish and the market went down. This bar here is not really a big bearish bar, so I would discard that. So that's the only bearish volume that's come in. In terms of big above average right now, we have this bar here, which is a big bullish bar. So that was an increase in volume there. And then this bar here, and that was a nice increase in volume there. So the big bar up has done it on strong volume. So as it stands right now, I've got to say this is very, very bullish. But it's one of those things where, you know, the all-time high is the all-time high, and there's always going to be resistance. There's going to be people that bought here, and they're going to want to get out and get their money back. That's just the way it is. Even if you tell people it's irrational to do that, you know, you sat through all this drawdown. Why would you want to just get your money out now? But that's just kind of how people are. So it could create some sellers coming into the market. As a standalone right now, it looks bullish. It looks like it's going to go higher. The way that I would kind of change my stance on that would be the following. So right now, as it stands, I think we break the highs and we go higher. And we'll do some breakdown of the fibs to see how that might happen in just a second. But I want to give you something that's going to be helpful to you, and hopefully you're going to remember this to help you look at the other side as well. So whether it's on a daily or whether it's on a weekly, you can do either. But what I would say to you is this path of going higher changes if we get a red bar like this that is above average, close below this green line, okay, and the volume goes up. So the volume goes basically higher than this average here. That's when you kind of want to get out of your position, because the most likelihood is that you've been faked out and the institutions want to push this lower before pushing it higher. But as it stands right now, I'm going to repeat it. As it stands and what I'm seeing, this market looks like it's going to have some real strength to go and push and really test breaking those highs. We had a weekly bar close above that resistance point. That's bullish. We've had a good average, above average volume bar there. Nice consolidation as well. So if you kind of look at the price action, it looks really, really nice here. And it just looks like it's going to have that push higher. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm seeing. And I'll just repeat it. An above average red bar with an increase in volume above the average, that's kind of when you want to get out. So something, you know, similar to this, I guess, where you saw here, bit above average red bar here, and then the market went much lower. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and break down where this next target is going to be for Bitcoin, and you know where we've pulled back and so on. So we'll do our fibs. We'll see our A, B, C, D. Let's make sure that's correct. Yeah. So A, B, C, D. And I'm going to do two different options for a reason I'll explain in just a sec. So that's one scenario. So this could be your D. So A, B, C, pull back into the yellow. And did we create? No, we haven't. We are due, but have not actually. I think we have created a D up there. Let me just double check that, mate. 1 sec. So is this a high point? Where 1, 2, yes. So that is officially a high point. So that basically means we now have a new A, B. And this means that the market could push up higher and find resistance around here, because I really like that double confluence level. That if this market goes, if you are long from here, I really like the 73,000 target. That for me is a really nice area to be looking to take some profits if you are trading this especially. So if you're trading it, you want to kind of be long as long as we're above this big green bar. So you could even be placing your stop behind that green bar and then looking to target 73,000. At that point, according to the fibs, we may get a pullback. Okay, we may get a pullback, something along those lines, maybe back towards this old resistance before then moving higher towards this D and then beyond. So that's kind of the likelihood is that that's probably what will happen. I think we'll push up and we'll go and hit 73K, and then we'll probably get some resistance. Whether this comes back this deep, it really depends on how much FOMO is in the market. The thing with cryptos and Bitcoin is that there's a lot of inexperienced traders. There's a lot of traders using leverage. There's a lot of volatility, and it creates some, parabolic, unpredictable moves. So anything is possible, but this is kind of what I'm seeing right now. Does that make sense, everybody? Does that make sense to you, Gavin?
Yeah, I mean, I think the news would have a field day if it went up to 73 and then back down to 55. That's that's almost a 25% drop, isn't it? So there would have to be something sizable to happen in the market for it to come to that. But it makes sense from a technical point of view, especially like what you've just found there, that we are actually in a start of another cycle.
Yeah. I mean, if you kind of, one of the ways that, this is more like Elliott waves, but one of the ways that you could look at another possibility is if you take the 100% prior move and then use that as a projection. Some people will use that as a short-term target. And now what's interesting about that is that it's roughly at the all-time high. So that, and it's also like, if you see that confluence there, that comes in about 64.6. And that's roughly where we've been before, right? So that's an interesting level as well. I think that is something you should definitely keep an eye on. So if you kind of put that horizontal line there, you can see, so you could, the other kind of scenario is that you test those all-time highs, sellers in the market come in, and then we push back towards here. So we do it that way. And either go up from here or go to the 618. So just really, really scare people out. Say, oh my word, Like the thing they say, like, buy the rumor, sell the fact. I don't know if people know that saying. It's quite a common saying. Buy the rumor, sell the fact. Well, the rumor was the ETF. The fact is it's here. So that could have that kind of effect. And so you might end up kind of just really, really, if you imagine there's people that are buying here, and then imagine if this actually happened, and you're like, oh my word, I'm losing all this money. It can create fear, and then the market could do that. So that's another sort of potential scenario. I just think that these are the kind of key levels that you need to be watching. And if you're going to be long, you've got to be, in my opinion, protected behind this big volume bar, because if that gets taken out, we're heading lower. How lower at this stage, we don't know, but I think if that gets taken out, I think we will definitely have a proper retracement, and that's where you could start to look for value areas to buy this. So yeah. I know that's kind of mixed. I've given you both scenarios, but like in trading, it's like that. You have to react to what you see. So just kind of repeating what I said at the beginning, as it stands, with everything as I see it, with volume confirming the breakout, it looks like there's momentum to the upside. It looks like there's more room to the upside. It looks like we can go and test this all-time high, and it looks like we could also break that all-time high and potentially go there. But then on the flip side, if we break back below here on higher volume, that changes that plan. And so all of a sudden you're like, well, there's no point holding that now and seeing a drop down to here. I'll close that trade and I'll buy it back down here or here, whatever.
No, that's great. That's a really good Bitcoin price prediction. We've got a few questions, so let's jump into the questions. So Andy's saying, yes, makes sense. When you zoomed in looking for the high point, what were you looking for to indicate that?
So I don't know if he's referring to...
maybe it was the double confluence lines, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things. It was the double Fibonacci. So we had this swing give us a target here, and this swing give us a target here. So that's what I thought was quite interesting. And also we had this distance projected to be the same level. So I know that this is the 100% move is something that people do use, especially in Elliott waves. I mean, there's other analysis that you do as well, but this is like the 100% move is something that a lot of traders will use. So they'll be looking at that level, and the fact that you've got these two old swings and the fact that it is an all-time high makes that significant. So what you're going to be looking for there is there's going to be a reaction. That I can almost say there's going to be a reaction. We don't just break an all-time high without reacting at all. What you need to see is like, what's the reaction like? So and it's hard to explain to people, but when it gets there, you should feel what's happening. Like, who's in control here? Is it going to push through, or is it like an all of a sudden barrage of selling coming in? Like it's just dominated down at that level. If it gets there and hesitates and it's not being pushed down and it's just being kind of pushed up, it's going to break. It's going to break, and we're going to probably quickly run to 73. That's kind of how you trade price action.
Cool. And then Con saying red bar on the daily.
Yeah, the weekly is better confirmation, Con, but the weekly is a long time. So by the time the weekly comes in, you could be 50% down. So like, yes, so I would prefer essentially, like, if you have an opposing bar to this up bar with an increase in volume. So if we basically close below here, but essentially what it's doing is it's doing the opposite of what this bar's tried to achieve. So the buyers have stepped in here. lots of good buying, and then all of a sudden you've got a big red bar with an increase in volume. That's called an evening star if it happens like that, or it could go higher and then do that. However it does it, if we get one that closes below here, that for me is a signal. This is a key level here. Like, that's why I've chosen that level: resistance, resistance, resistance. A big bearish bar below that means that the market wants to sell off. Think about it. If that's resistance, it should become natural support, right? So if this market went like this, it should come back. If this is a strong market that's going to break up, it should just pull back and then go bang. But if it goes bang, closes below it, the market's telling you we're going to sell off.
Tickety-boo. And then just to clarify, so Kevin's saying, do you think the ETF today could give Bitcoin a price boost?
Yeah, I do think it could, just because of the immaturity of the market. I think people will wait for that news, and I think it can naturally give it a boost. Yeah, but like I said before, the natural thing is like, buy the rumor, sell the fat. The rumor's been there for a long time, and I think from the rumor, Bitcoin has gone up. It got a boost the other day when there was an announcement that it's probably happening. But it's not as big a news as it could have been, as I said before. So, but yeah, I do think it could have a little push up, maybe even just take it up towards these all-time highs. But like I said, if it's been priced in already, then not necessarily. But generally speaking, people will look at the news and say, "Oh wow, okay, this is great. I'm going to buy Bitcoin," and so probably for that reason, I would say yes.
Very good, Mr. Demi, very good. So I think the moral of the story is, if you're just still not in cryptos yet and you're looking and you're hearing all this positive news, it was all negative, doom and gloom a few months ago. Now it's positive and you're really confused. You're not too late to the party. And if you've watched the entire show, you would have seen Andy's pick where he thinks there's a really good project that can give you 3x your investment back by the end of the year. So there are still these opportunities, guys. Thank you for all your questions. I think that's it. We're pretty much done for this week's show. Just to clarify, I've posted the link for the free extended training. So if you're like, yeah, I want to learn how to do more of this, whether it's from an investment point or a trading point of view, to understand where your opportunities are, click on the link in the comment section, go to the free training, learn more from Andy there. Otherwise, just check out the post that we put in the group. Check out our new YouTube channel. Thank you to everybody who's been giving our YouTube channel lots of love. We would like some more of that, please. That's our form of payment. You can give us your show of appreciation by supporting our YouTube channel. That's our next challenge, to start building our YouTube content out for everybody to get this information. So is there anything else that you want to share with everyone before we bounce? I mean, that's pretty good. Andy is the man. I think we should just leave it there, mate. End it on a high. Don't risk ruining that. Just end it on a high, mate. Just leave it there.
I'll try and ruin it. Let's see what I can say. No, I think like the biggest thing, the hardest thing is feeling that horrible feeling of feeling like you've missed the boat. Like feeling, oh, I wish I did it before, and I wish I got in before when it pulled back, and it's just not a nice space to be in. Like you've got to come from a space of abundance, of just feeling good about what you're doing. And there is plenty of money around in cryptos and anything else. And it's just about bringing the right mindset and approach to it. And so wherever you are, whether you've invested zero, whether you've invested all your life savings, which I don't recommend, by the way, but wherever you are is absolutely fine. The biggest thing is to say, look, okay, this is where I am now. What's the best way to move forward? How do I make the most from my money, from my investments? And then it's just about saying, okay, well, doing the research, getting educated, understanding what you're doing, having a plan, and just don't kind of try and get rich overnight. Just take your time, invest in good projects, and let them sit. And if you want to take it to that next level and trade, even better, because you can use a lot of our students use their trading profits to then invest, which is what I do, and it's what I recommend for people to do. Trade short, long, sideways, make money, put it back into your long-term investments, into good project, and most importantly, don't be scared by the news. There's going to be something negative today, tomorrow, next week, China, something about crypto. It's you have to just kind of almost ignore it, unfortunately. That's what happens when you have a new asset. That's what happens when people don't understand what they're investing in. And so you have to be strong-minded, and you just got to stick to this community and other like communities. So that's all, guys.
I think you're still the man, mate. That was pretty well said.
Excellent, excellent.
Andy Demi for the Mayor of London. How about that?
No thanks, mate.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you on the other side. See
Take care, guys.